Hello, everybody. Welcome to iExamBee's Legal Bee. This is Amrita, your law faculty here at iExamBee. Embrace the iExamBee learning experience with us. If you're preparing for any competitive examinations after your law, then you're at the right place. iExamBee provides coaching in online mode for various examinations like SEBI Grade A Legal Officer, IBPS SO Law Officer, IBPS RRB, RBI Grade B Law Officer, etc. इन सारे कोर्सेज के आप डेमो एक्टिवेट करके देख सकते हैं on www.iexambee.com. कोई भी क्वेरीज हो, you can drop us an email on this email ID or call us on this number. You can also write to us in the comment section of the video, and don't forget to subscribe to LegalBee. At LegalBee, we keep on providing you various relevant content for your exam preparation. Download our app for 50% faster job preparation. The series that I have started for SEBI Grade A Legal Officer exam preparation is of 300 most important MCQs, out of which this is the 12th video of my series in which I am going to cover 20 MCQs from Limitation Act. If you have missed the earlier videos, I would suggest all of you check it out in the playlist of LegalBee. Limitation Act is a procedural law, substantive law, lex fori, A and C, A and B. What is the nature of Limitation Act? Very important and basic question. Correct answer is D, that it is a procedural law as well as lex fori. Law of limitation is procedural and lex fori. Lex fori means talking about laws that are in action. It is based on public policy and prescribes period of limitation after expiry of which suits and proceedings cannot be maintained. Whenever it is saying something or guiding the court and giving some guidance to the court on the law of action, that is going to be a lex fori. Who amongst the following cannot make an application under Limitation Act 1963? Executor, legal representative, any person through whom an applicant derives his right to apply. All of the above, none of the above. So who amongst these people cannot make an application under Limitation Act? Correct answer is E, because all of these can make an application under the Limitation Act. You can see that applicant includes a petitioner, any person from whom an applicant derives his right to apply, any person whose estate is represented by the applicant as executor, administrator or another representative. So इससे ये clear हो जाता है that all these people are having the right to make an application. So the correct answer here is none of the above. Period of limitation computed in accordance with the provisions of Limitation Act 1963 is prescribed period, period of limitation, computed period, period of delay, condoned period. Correct answer is B, period of limitation. As per Limitation Act 1963, Section 2 Clause J talks about period of limitation. What is the meaning of it? Period of limitation prescribed for any suit, appeal or application by the schedule. And prescribed period means the period of limitation that is computed in the accordance with provisions of the act. So always remember, इसमें बहुत confusion होता है period of limitation और prescribed period में. Confusion मत होने दीजिए. Be clear with the basic concept. दोनों में से किसी पे भी question आ सकता है. So be clear कि क्या क्या है. Words के literal meaning पे मत जाना. Be clear with the concept. या फिर आप दोनों में से अगर एक भी याद रखते हैं, automatically you can remember the opposite one or the other one. For the purpose of limitation, a suit does not include appeal, does not include application, includes appeal and application, both A and B, includes application only. Answer is D, both A and B. So for the purpose of limitation, as per Limitation Act, Section 2, Clause L, suit does not include an appeal or an application. Limitation Act is retrospective in operation, prospective in operation, any A and B, both A and B, say some parts are retrospective in nature. This should be very clear to us that it is retrospective in operation because it's a procedural law. स्टैट्यूट कैन बी रिट्रोस्पेक्टिव, बट अगर हम सब्सटैंटिव लॉ की बात करें तो वो कभी रिट्रोस्पेक्टिव नहीं हो सकता. बट इट्स अ प्रोसीजर एंड स्टडी ऑफ लिमिटेशन, स्टैट्यूट ऑफ लिमिटेशन इज retrospective in its operation. Limitation Act was enforced in the year 1963 itself, 64, 65, 66, 1908. Correct answer is B, 1964. It was enacted in 1963, but it was enforced in 1964, January 1st, 1964. Remember this also. What is the Scheme of Limitation Act? It has been divided into how many parts, and it is having how many articles? Correct answer is C. It is divided into articles. It has articles and not sections, and it is divided into, it is having articles in the schedule actually, and it is having sections. It is divided into how many parts? Totally it is having 137 articles, and it is divided into 3 parts. Actually the question will be like, it is having sections also, but here what they have given, as per the option you have to choose the correct answer. It is, if we say that it is having sections, but that is not matching the second part, यानी कि 0 parts या 6 parts यहाँ पे मैच नहीं हो रहा, ये ऑप्शंस देख के आप एकदम प्रॉपरली आंसर कर सकते हो दैट इट हैज हाउ मेनी आर्टिकल्स एंड इन टोटल कितने आर्टिकल्स है लिमिटेशन एक्ट में, टोटल 137, एंड डिवाइडेड इनटू कितने पार्ट्स है, 3. तो अगर आप लिमिटेशन एक्ट को ओवरऑल देखोगे तो उसमें सेक्शंस भी है, बट यहाँ पे किस चीज की बात हो रही है वो आपको ऑप्शंस को देखने के बाद समझ में आता है. बी वेरी क्लियर विद द स्कीम ऑफ लिमिटेशन एक्ट. एक बार आप इंडेक्स भी देख लोगे तो आपको क्लियर हो जाएगा. सेक्शंस है फॉलोड बाय आर्टिकल्स डिवाइडेड इनटू 3 पार्ट्स. एक्चुअली ये शेड्यूल में है. Limitation Act is based on which of the following maxims? Interest republicae ut sit finis litium, vigilantibus non dormantibus jura subvenient, actio personalia moritur cum persona, both A and B, A, B and C. So we should always know such kind of subjects, such kind of laws, the basic maxims. Correct answer is D. That is, it is based not only on vigilantibus. Vigilantibus हम सबको पता होता है, but पहला वाला जो मैक्सिम है वो हमने शायद नहीं पढ़ा होता है, तो वो डिटेल में अगर पढ़ा है तो हमें पता होता है. First one is dealing with the interest of society as a whole. There should be an end to litigation. This is the meaning of this. Vigilantibus, the meaning is law serves the vigilant and not those who sleep over their rights. Limitation Act bars, claim, remedy, act, right, all of the above. So what does Limitation Act bar? It bars remedy. It tells you when you can take legal action and when you cannot. So it bars your remedy in that way. Limitation Act is applicable to civil proceedings only, both civil and criminal proceedings. Civil and in case of appeal and revision to criminal proceedings also. Quasi-criminal proceedings and civil proceedings. All types of proceedings. So Limitation Act is applicable to civil proceedings and in case of appeal and revision to criminal proceedings. There are some exceptions to it. Article 114 and 15 in case of appeal from the order of acquittal and Article 135, 131 regarding revision. Suit filed beyond limitation is liable to be dismissed only if limitation is set up as a defense. Even if limitation is not set up as a defense, in all cases except when limitation is set up as a defense, irrespective of being raised as a defense, none of the above. So when a suit is filed beyond the period of limitation, it is liable to be dismissed. Correct answer is B, even if limitation is not set up as a defense. You don't need to specifically set up limitation as a defense. The court has to check it suo motu and take cognizance. If it is not within limitation, it is liable to be dismissed unless they plead for condonation of the delay with sufficient grounds. If limitation expires on the day when the court is closed, then proceedings shall be instituted on the day when court reopens. It shall be instituted one day before the court is closed. Shall be instituted on next working day within 7 days of reopening as per the discretion of court, any of the above. So if limitation expires on the day when the court is closed, then correct answer is A itself. Proceedings shall be instituted on the day when the court reopens. Section 4. Expiry of prescribed period when the court is closed. When the time has begun to run, it cannot stop. It stops if there is sufficient cause. It stops every time when new cause of action arises. It cannot stop after 3 consecutive days have passed. Any of the above as per facts and circumstances. So when the time has begun to run, At that time, it cannot stop. Continuous running of time is a concept that is covered under Section 9 of the Limitation Act. As per provisions of Limitation Act, a legal disability can be a ground for consideration in all the cases, in suits only, in all the cases except execution proceedings, in filing of suits and applications for execution of decree, depending upon the nature of legal disability. So, as per Limitation Act, legal disability can be a ground for consideration in answer is D, in filing of suits and applications for the execution of decree. As per Section 6 of the Limitation Act, Section 6 talks about the legal disability. In cases of fraud, period of limitation shall not begin to run when plaintiff has discovered the fraud, begin to run from first incidents, begin to run after 3 events of fraud, not begin to run until plaintiff has discovered the fraud, none of the above. So in cases of fraud, period of limitation shall not begin to run until the plaintiff has discovered the fraud. Because mental element is very important here. Discovery of the fraud is very important. That is going to be difficult to prove actually, but that is the case. Section 7 covers this. 17 covers this. In case of a continuing tort, Limitation Act does not apply. Fresh period of limitation begins to run at every moment of time. First period of limitation is calculated. The first point of time when tort is committed is considered. Continuing torts cannot be committed. So when there is a case of continuing tort, what about Limitation Act? Fresh period of limitation begins to run at every moment of time. जितने बार वो tort commit होता जाएगा, every time fresh period of limitation will begin to run as per the cause of action. So this specific provision is there, Section 22, continuing breaches and torts. Computation of time mentioned in the instruments is calculated with reference to Georgian calendar, English calendar, American calendar, Chinese calendar, Indian calendar. Now, a very simple direct knowledge based question this is. Correct answer is A, Georgian calendar. This is specifically provided in section 24. In an application for setting aside an award, time requisite for obtaining a copy of award shall be dash in the computation of period of limitation. That means this requisite time shall be considered or not, that is the question. Correct answer is A, excluded, included, included only when technical delay is there, excluded when there is a technical delay. A and C, that is excluded and included only when there is a technical delay. So what is the correct answer? Correct answer is A, that it is excluded in computation of period of limitation. Time that is requisite for obtaining a copy of award definitely has to be excluded. It's not the default of the party, whatever delay happens in these things. 12 clause 4. Section 12 clause 4 covers this. In computing the period of limitation for an application to set aside an award, the time requisite for obtaining a copy of the award shall be excluded. Acquisition of ownership by possession is discussed under Limitation Act, not discussed in Limitation Act, discussed only in Easements Act, discussed under Part 3 of Limitation Act, discussed under Part 4 of Limitation Act. Simple question. Our Part 4 is covering acquisition of ownership by possession. छोटा सा part है ये, ज़्यादा sections नहीं है, but important है. Last question for today. If the property over which an easementary right is acquired by prescription belongs to the government, the period uninterrupted for which uninterrupted peaceful possession is going to exist is 20 years, 30 years, 35 years, 40 years, 60 years. Now don't forget that they have asked you here specifically the prescription period of the government. In the normal stance, what is the period, and for the government, what is the period? Be very clear with this. बहुत important question है ये. Correct answer is B. It is 30 years. Section 25 clause 3 talks about where the property over which a right is claimed under subsection 1 belongs to the government. Then when you are acquiring rights by prescription over the government property, then instead of 20 years, the time period will be increased and it will be 30 years. In the general parlance, it is 20 years if it is a private property, and for government property, it is 30 years. So stay tuned to LegalB for all such kind of videos. Prepare 50% faster with us at iExamB. Download our app from Google Play Store and have the full course access available on our app. with the live classes, daily quizzes, daily current affairs, and even the offline content that is available here. All the content is available in offline mode as well. You can download and use it. Do check it out. In case of queries, reach out to us. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice